Good morning and welcome to beautiful, spectacular Pickett, Wisconsin on the 3rd day of August 2026. The weather today is just spectacular. It's like in the upper 70s, very light winds, a little humid, but just spectacular. So today's video is going to feature a revisit of this RCV 91CD engine, rotating cylinder valve 4-stroke engine that I ran several weeks ago and had a really large, long video, a challenging run I think it was called. So what I have done since that video is I have replaced the bearings with Boca bearings, and if you recall, if you watched that, there was a leak of oil leak coming here, and I'm pretty damn sure I know why, because there was the front bearings inner or outer race was damaged a bit. So I don't expect to see anything happening here, but the other issue with this engine was the way it was running, and it wasn't the engine, it was the carburetor and how finicky this particular carburetor was to get set to get to the point where at the end of that video how it was running halfway decent. I have done nothing to that stock carburetor since that video. I haven't touched anything. So in theory, it should run exactly as it did then, only with different fuel and new bearings. However, if for some reason, and after that run, and I determined that the carb is just not very reliable, not very good, I was looking for other carburetors that would fit inside this intake manifold. This intake manifold opening is rather large, but the carb is not super large. But I did find two, well actually several, carbs from OS 61 SFs and maybe even FSRs, maybe not the FSR, but the SF for sure will fit ASP 61 engines and maybe ASP 90, 75, I don't know. All I have is an ASP 61. This is an ASP 61 carburetor that, for the heck of it, I'll run this thing, see if I can get it running, see how it runs, and then I'll save some fuel so that I can go and run with this carb, because I'm very curious. Now, the only thing with this carb is the bore is super huge compared to this one. But it actually fits in the intake manifold properly, and that's really all I could go by. I couldn't, there just wasn't any other carbs. So with all that said, that's the plan for today. I've got the same APC 14.6 prop installed here and like 5% nitro fuel. And I believe that's an OSF glow plug. I haven't changed that out either. So with all that said, let's fire this engine up again and see first that there will be no oil leakage here. And let's see if that carb still operates at least halfway decent the way it did at the end of that last run. Okay, I've got my nice starter here. I've got it full throttle. Let's prime it. I always wonder about priming an engine when the intake is facing down like that. But 4-strokes are usually, but is also fighting more gravity there too. I need to get this vent tube off of here, so I don't want to lose this on the ground. I'm going to have to get a tool to use to get that thing off because it's super tight for whatever reason. So let me pause this real quick, get that off. I want to run a tube, fuel tube or a vent tube out here so we can see how much oil comes out too. Okay, I know you can't see it, but I've got the tube connected here and it kind of goes in and is held in place, so it's kind of going directly out that way onto the side of the table, which might be a good thing, might not be, but then the prop blast will probably blow it all the way back there. So all that said, let's fire this engine up and make sure we don't start it at full throttle. Okay, so there I did 2 clicks lean, and it said, I don't think so. So I just richened it 3 more clicks. 1 additional click for the 2 lean that I went. So yes, it seemed like it was running pretty well based on what the last run was. I don't see a ton of oil coming out of here yet. It seems really hot already though. That's why I wanted to richen it up. And my oil content in my fuel is usually, it's pretty high. It's at least 20%, so. That was 2 clicks richer on the high speed. So I riched it 1 more click and it started to change then. It's like it doesn't want to run rich. Okay, so I started richening it more, about another 4 or 5 clicks rich. So it was too lean apparently. I don't think it likes to idle quite so low, so I'm going to keep it a little higher. Right about there. Okay, I just pulled it all the way back, and there's no throttle stop screw, and shut it down. I mean, this engine seems to be running fine. Yeah, it took a little bit of minor high-speed tweaking. I wasn't even about to go try to mess with the low speed and get it all in the weeds again, just because it seemed to be fine. One thing I did notice is that I see a normal, I know you can't see it, but I see a normal amount of oil coming out of here, and not the hemorrhaging that was there before. So both the sides of the front bearing were sealed when I disassembled it and put the new ones in. I have to go back and review my video and see if I didn't remove the rear seal on the rearward facing portion of the bearing, because I don't recall if I did or not, but the front seal on this bearing was dimpled in like somebody hit it with something, and that was why it was leaking here. Clearly it's not leaking here, but yet that's the only thing that's been changed that would cause a much less. I mean, this is normal oil coming out, normal bypass oil. This thing would put out a lot before. So the way this engine is running right now is, I'm not entirely certain. Okay, so that was a great run. I pulled it, I closed it, and I was sitting there talking, kind of doing a conclusion with it zoomed in, so I started over because I just sat there and kept talking. This engine does have a different sound at idle. I don't think it's a bad sound, it's just different because of the construction of the engine. It's just a whirring sound. You hear this whirring sound, but what I was really just saying before I stopped the video was that this thing is putting out a normal amount of oil from the vent, from the crankcase vent, not hemorrhaging like it was before. And the only thing that I've done, obviously, is I cleaned up the inside, there was no issues, but I replaced bearings. So this had rubber sealed front bearing. Rear bearing was open as usual. I have to go back and review my video on when I replace this. I don't know if I removed one of the rear seals now, or if I just left them both rubber sealed as they were, but it's fine. It's not hemorrhaging oil like it was. Now, for a prolonged idle below 3,000 RPM, it did seem like if you wanted to do a throttle advance, that it was wanting to load up a little bit. I was fine with it. I'm very hesitant to go touching that low speed needle just because of how sensitive it is. I mean, just a minute move changes the whole dynamic of the way the carburetor operates. At least that's what I was seeing in the previous run. Now, the way this thing's running, I'm not certain I'm even going to bother putting the ASP carb on here, because I just don't know that there's a reason to do that. It seems like this carb is dialed in fine now. So I don't really know that there's any reason to do anything else to put another carb on here, because I just don't know. I'll have to sit and think about it. I'm going to let this thing cool down, but the engine ran fine. It seems like it's one of those ones that kind of needs a little bit of time to warm up before you're going to be able to just start doing a bunch of transitions and stuff. So you let it sit there and run, get up to operating temperature, and then you can operate it normally, because it didn't seem like it wanted to transition at all initially like I usually like to do with engines. But hey, get used to the way it sounds at idle. It just has a different sound because of the rotating cylinder. It's a whirring sound. It's not anything, in my opinion, to be concerned about or anything. It doesn't indicate anything wrong. It's just the way the engine is. But the engine runs really nice now, and at least it's not leaking from that front bearing. So, and it's not hemorrhaging oil all over the place. Basically what I've got here is what you would call normal amount of oil coming out. There's no pools, and it's not running all over everything like it was before. So that's our run. I'm not certain if I'm going to put another carb on here and run it again, so this could be the end of this run. So anyway, hope you enjoyed watching.